Hi everybody, we're here today with Shell from Be Well with Shell. So Shell's going to be talking to me today about her business and some of her things that she's got planned and maybe some of the hurdles that she's going to come across on that kind of journey to fulfilling those kind of long-term goals. Pretty standard stuff for the show really, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a deep dive into that and see what the problems are and try and see if we can get you some tangible information and some fixes for those things and information that both Shell and the audience can take away. So with that said, we'll crack on over to Shell. So you could tell us a little bit about your business, Be Well with Shell, and kind of what you do in a kind of elevator pitch, but imagine we're going up the Shard, so you've got like 3 minutes rather than just 60 seconds.
Excellent. So I started Be Well with Shell probably about 8 years ago, but before that I was under a different name, Holistic Treats. So when I first qualified 18 years ago, just with massage and beauty, and started to add on different services from there, working for different people as well as for myself. And then about 8 years ago took the leap into just having my own business and doing it by myself full time.
Yeah. And how did you go about getting your first? So you went from employed to setting up your own business, Be Well with Shell.
Yeah.
So how did you go about getting your kind of first few customers?
Well, the first when I first qualified, was sort of doing the part-time by myself. It was kind of pre-Facebook and advertising, so it was free ads in the Friday ad in the Argos newspaper, putting my card into local newsagents. I was in Brighton at the time, so student clients were really my key aim, because I was well placed right in the centre of the sort of student living area. So just the free ads, and then moving on to sort of Be Well with Shell was very heavily sort of Facebook linked, with doing sort of advertising on there and focusing it that way.
And the list of kind of treatments that you do is vast, or you focus on something, or what's kind of the scope, if you like, of what you do?
It's quite huge, really, and it's grown just through customer demand. So I started off with aromatherapy and reflexology and Swedish massage, and then customers were asking if I did sort of beauty treatments. So I learned the nails and the waxing and facials, and then the different massages kind of grew as I became interested in different things. So Indian head massage and deep tissue massage. Yeah. And then during lockdown, when I couldn't work, I retrained in the fitness side of things, so that I just thought to sort of future-proof what I was doing and to be more hands-off, that the online fitness training thing would be pretty good. But I think a lot of people now want face-to-face, and so
it's sort of gone full circle, hasn't it? What was the guy, Joe something, who was on YouTube all the time during the lockdown?
Yeah.
The fitness guy.
That's it, yeah.
I'm sure someone in the comments will put his name in there, but
Joe Wicks,
that's it. Yeah. So he was big on that, but I think a lot of those things, they are a bit sort of faddy after a while, and they come back around full circle, don't they? Now people are sick to death in our own business of having Teams calls all the time. They want to come in the office, they want to see staff face to face, and the rest of it. They get burnt out by that after a while.
That face-to-face interaction is really important, and I do have some one-to-one clients, but what I really wanted was something that was online that I could provide for a lot of people in one go, and it's not worked out that way. But it's good to have that skill, because it just allows me to give the clients that come for massage a more holistic kind of feedback at the end of the treatment, and stretches and all that kind of thing to incorporate in the treatment that I give. So
so it's a kind of, I suppose, business where you're doing the kind of treatment side of things, but also the kind of fitness as well, like trying to merge those two into one another. And presumably, I'm right in thinking from your list here, it's kind of just you doing that on your own, essentially. So it's relying upon you kind of putting whatever into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so very much a job for yourself.
Yes.
But an enjoyable job, a lifestyle job, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I thought during lockdown that I'd end up going back to work and not wanting to do it, but it just made me realise how much I really love doing it. And it's great. It's been flexible as the kids have been growing, and they don't quite need me at home quite so much, so I can look at different ways of working and different hours and stuff. So it's been great.
What did you do before the massage stuff and the bit of fitness and everything? before that?
Yeah, it's completely unrelated. So as my part-time job as a student, I worked for Lloyd's in their debt collection call centre. So I did that, and then went into customer services, and then decided to leave university and just get a full-time job. So I was a mortgage administrator for a subprime lender.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Before the financial crash.
Yes, yeah, I left it. It was actually for a company that was owned by Lehman Brothers. So as that happened, I was like, good timing, I'm leaving.
Yeah, definitely,
yeah, so that worked out quite well to make that leap.
So what were you doing at uni then? What was your degree gonna? You left, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't finish it. Yeah. I got a high national diploma instead. So I was doing a teaching degree.
Okay. So
which I really loved, but I just struggled with the kind of like the writing side of it really. So I did 3 teaching practices, which I loved and got on really well with, and then the actual being in university, I just really struggled with. Yeah. So I kind of had to call it a day and just think about trying something else. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What was the aim, the ideal aim with uni? Were you going to go into a particular area at all?
Yeah, it was for primary school teaching. Yeah. So like later years, 7 to 11-year-olds.
So 7 to 11, the younger style. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I just fell into it. I think I'd always wanted to teach, but I always liked school. I think I liked that structure, and I like learning, and that's kind of followed me through what I do, with always going back to new courses and trying to pick up new information.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sort of partly teaching as well with the fitness side of things and baby massage. So
yeah. Okay. All right. In terms of like your sort of goals moving forward, presumably you're looking to, I mean, you come on the show, so we're going to have a chat about it in a bit, but looking to kind of expand in some direction or something, or give us some sort of clue as what the kind of the next 10 years looks like, or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, so there are 2 sides of it really. So one side was I wanted to get out of the house more now that I can. Yeah. So I was looking at the mobile side of massage and taking my massage chair out into different businesses. Yeah. And then the other side of it was actually from watching some of these podcasts, thinking about how I can actually grow the business and what I wanted from it. Yeah. And that was to earn more money and work less hours. Yeah. And I was like, well, everything that I'm doing, I've got to work more hours to earn more money. So looking at like different ideas as to what I could do to increase the income.
It's very much like a lifestyle business, isn't it? And it's reliant upon yourself, which a lot of people find themselves in that position that they've created a business, but it's actually just like a job for themselves, essentially, because it's reliant upon you. Like if you're sick or you go on holiday, nothing gets done, does it? So I guess the kind of goal for you is to move away from that kind of reliance on you. I mean, we'll turn your sheet over in a minute and have a look at the other side of it. But essentially, I mean, I've done quite a lot of videos on this for anybody that does want to go back through the back catalogue and have a look, but kind of hierarchical structure. Like I make a reference to a coffee shop owner, like loads of people go, I want to do a cafe or something, and then they find they've just created themselves a job basically, and then it's only when they kind of go into like chains of it, or they employ a manager or staff to work, and they grow them way up this kind of pyramid, if you like, that I prefer to it, where they sit at the top, and they can then kind of be more entrepreneurial or business owner rather than being in the business all the time. Yeah,
it's quite a hard transition to make, because like I love what I do and it's very people focused, and I'm there for other people, and it's quite hard separating that part of things from actually I want to earn some money as well, and like I want to
grow. There's a massive leap between like a lifestyle like you on your own and it being about you. Like people come because it's you, and then you create a business and then it's like a brand instead. Yeah. And getting that ethos down through the staffing and people that work for you is quite difficult sometimes. So that might be a hurdle. But nothing that we can't talk about. Yeah, excellent. So I think that gives us a nice sort of segue into maybe some of your kind of growth plans and that sort of thing. So just having a look at your form, we've got from a year from now, you'd like a business and a side that could run without you. looking to create a product that you've made a sample of and you love it, looking to whether or not there's something that you can make cheap enough to sell at an affordable price, then sell through, and then you can employ perhaps others to deliver that for you. And then more longer term goals to have a product line with several products that isn't reliant upon you being in the business. And then the kind of more 10-year goals, be able to choose whether I want to give treatments or not, while still maintaining a regular income which pays for what I would like an upgraded lifestyle, children, university debt, all that kind of stuff, like life's stuff.
Yeah.
So product wise, so I suppose am I right in thinking what you're trying to do is create like a product that you can then give to people to then sell into homes and stuff like that, or what was the sort of thought behind that?
Yeah, so I've got 2 products that I've now had safety tested. So I've got a massage candle and I have a rollerball, which is for your pulse points. And I want to be able to sell those to my clients, sell them online, and go into salons as well, with a sort of a bigger version of the candle to use for them to use in treatments. That's the bigger goal.
So what does the candle do? So like, I'm a bloke, I know that's probably loads of people slate me for saying that, but candles are candles to us. So what does I know obviously Yankee Candle, everyone loves all that kind of smells and the rest of it. What does this candle, how will that be different to that?
So all the products used within the candle are skin safe, and they all have a lower burning point than a normal candle, because you want them to warm up quite quickly and so that they're melted, and then you extinguish the candle. You've got a lovely oil that smells amazing, so you put a nice blend of essential oils in, and then you can pour that onto your hand and then massage the client with really nice warm oil, as well as, if they're using it at home, they have the aroma of it that fills the room, and they've got a nice warm oil they can either just use on themselves if they've got joint problems, or just want some nice like moisturising properties, or to use with a partner, or to use on a friend or relative. Okay,
I see. So that makes sense now. I thought it was just a candle to burn or something.
No.
So you're talking about a candle
function
that you would melt down to use the wax for part of a treatment, and that would be self-treating. And then talk to me about the massage ball thing you were referring to.
That's in a little glass vial with a roller ball on the top, and that has an oil in it with essential oils as well. And I've used the same blend from the massage candle in the oil. And then you can just roll that onto your pulse points, so then you have that nice aroma and the therapeutic benefits of the particular essential oils.
And is that a product that you have invented, or you're buying in, or is it where does that come from?
There are like lots of rollerball products already out there, and I thought that was like a handy way of just having your product in someone's handbag or pocket or in the car for use. And the massage candle, I started to research different massage products, and quite a few things had come up on Amazon, and I'd I've not seen these before, and then researched a few salons and found that these items weren't actually in the salons yet. I have noticed now that 1 or 2 places have started to use this as a treatment, so I was like, there's a trend here that maybe these things are becoming more popular. So I haven't invented it, but I've created my own blend of.
So the actual product, the ball thing, is not a creation of yours, but it's the formula, the liquid or whatever that goes into it is self-creation. Okay, fine, I get that. So essentially what you're after is like an army of kind of people selling products out for you, really, to try and grow that side of the business, so you've got some residual income. I like the model. They're quite hard to grow with a couple of products, so you might need a slightly bigger line, because if you're going to ask somebody to go and kind of you recruit your average person who probably wants a part-time job, maybe a bit of a side hustle, that kind of thing, and they're going to probably be your first few recruits, if you like, to sell that for. They probably might need a few products to sell into salons or individuals or whatever. So I think if you had the ball, and then you had 5 or 6 different liquids that you could put into it with different smells or properties or whatever?
So I have 3 different blends for each. So that's that's my starting
Okay.
point. But yeah.
So how are you going to go, or what's your plan to go ahead and kind of get this off the ground then? So you've got this idea, and now we need to get it to the next stage where you've kind of, year 1 is to get people actually like to get this product off the ground, and presumably you're going to sell it to start with and then try and build from there and then get people. So where are we at with that?
Yeah, so I've just had the safety testing done, because anything that you're using on the skin has to be safety tested and then has to be registered with the government. So before I can register it, I need to finalise my packaging and labelling. So that's where I'm at the moment. Trying to find bespoke packaging is very expensive, when at the moment I'm looking small scale. So I've been given a few options from some other people networking that I can look into, but I've tried, going down the route of Amazon and researching those kind of things and just ordering various boxes, and none of them are either good quality or what I need to keep the product stable. And then the labelling side of it, legally there has to be certain things that are on the label, but it's a small product, so how do I do that? And so at the moment I'm just kind of handwriting bits and just putting them in. And I was like, that's fine if I'm just selling 2 or 3, but when it's going to be...
also heavily reliant upon you again.
Exactly. And even like printing it off, if I'm just doing it onto a Word document and then printing it, it doesn't look how I want it to look. And it's very, it's an A4 piece of paper, but I want it into a little label that can fold down the size of the product and go in a box with it. So, so that's where I am at the moment. And the product itself, I've made my first batch up, so that's all been tested and is all fine and ready to go. Just waiting for that the next that next step to be in place to go, right, now what do I do, and how am I going to market it, and who am I going to go to help? Because there's definitely that sort of tipping point where I want to do it all myself because that's the cheapest thing, but actually I don't know how, and
sustainability
and that getting there, I have to learn an awful lot before I can actually do it, and I don't think I want to wait. I'm quite impatient, so but what can I afford to do, and how do we do that?
I mean, it's good to be impatient because that drives you often. Have you thought, we'll come on to like the numbers and stuff and the rest of it a bit later maybe, but thought about what they call like a stocking fee type arrangement, where maybe you provide the products, and if they sell them then they pay you the money for selling them. Like you would go into, say, a spa or something like that, and then you would say, look, I'm going to provide you all these products for free, you put them on your shelf, and when they sell they get like 10-15% off the cost of whatever it's sold for, and then that way you can go in there and you can monitor the success of it, and you can say, look, these people are selling my products for me and the rest of it, they're buying into it, customers are buying it, but I'm not having to produce like loads and loads of it because it's all sat on a shelf. And if you suddenly go, well, this spa's doing really, really well, and this one, they've sold nothing, you can then say, look, I'm going to stop doing the stocking fee because you're not really selling the product anymore. They're a good way of initially, like especially when you're quite small, getting it out without the spas feeling like they've got to buy loads of products of you, because they've got no risk to them, is there? They're basically just, the risk is they're giving you shelf space for their product, and they're not like a supermarket where shelf space is like a mega premium. I mean, you've probably been to loads of spas, but you always see those like glass cabinets with like the 6 products that are provided. And I know there's the bigger brands out there which we won't mention, but a lot of them are stocking brand fees. Electricians and plumbers work the same way. Like the suppliers give them all the materials they need, the sockets and the fittings and the rest of it, and they keep them in their vans, and they only pay for what they use out of the stock. So you could try something like that. That would probably help you get into a few places to start with and get it being sold, because then you're not relying upon staffing and the costs involved in that, because they're getting their commission off of the sale price. But you do need to check your numbers though to make sure that you've built in enough profit to be able to give them that. Okay, I don't know if you considered that at all.
I hadn't. No, I kind of haven't got that far with thinking about, that with the business plan side of things, is like I'm just going to take a step and see where it goes. So, but that's a really interesting way of doing it, because the salons then can like build up trust with the product as well. So
exactly. So because there are a lot of those massage therapists that they're like almost like hairdressers in the sense that they rent a table, don't they? And then they get commission back off of what they charge, and then the place takes a percentage, or they rent the table off of it. So if they like your product as well, they're going to promote it because they're going to get some commission off of it. So if they're, I don't know, it's £20 for a bottle, or whatever it might be, and they're going to get like £4 of it, then they're going to promote that for you, aren't they?
Yeah.
And there's no cost to them. They're not having to buy it in at like £8 and sell it at 20, and there's a risk factor there. It doesn't make any difference to them if they sell it or not, really. Yeah. It's bonus money. But for you, it gives you an idea of what your market's like, and a little bit of control over costs as well, because you can do all of that individually yourself, and do all the little, keep the costs down essentially, produce it, and then put it on the shelves and see how it goes. And then that will give you an indication as to the market for it as well. You need to be in a few places, obviously, because some places will push it more than others and so on. So
that's
it's like a stocking, basically a stocking fee. So you're giving away some of your profits in exchange for a mini sales force as well as space on their shelf. Yeah. I think that would be a good. That's where I would start. I would think if I could get into there as well, that would be quite good.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then with the with the candles and stuff like that, obviously, you can sell that product in there as well. So you can sell the little device, you can sell the liquids, and then you've got like a little product line, haven't you? So it's not just like it's one product. There's a range of things for people to purchase, isn't there?
Yeah, that's it. And hopefully making like a bigger candle for sort of salon use, so that they can use it as a new treatment that they can do, and then sell the smaller take-home ones on the back of that.
Because you can be like, give it to them and say, look, it's free, because they probably have to pay for their massage chemicals or whatever anyway, and go, look, it's all been approved and the rest of it. Here's a bigger version of it for free. And before you begin the treatment, get the client to smell the 3 different things and say, which one would you like me to use? And then you can use that one. And then at the end, they can say you can buy more of that if you wanted to, or a different smell if you prefer one of the other ones or something. So they're basically becoming your sales force, but you're not having to pay them a salary because they're getting a commission off of the sales.
Yeah.
It's kind of a similar structure to like your Tupperware and Avon pots and the rest of it, but they're not having to go out to things and incur costs travelling around to little parties and all those kind of things. They're actually the customers there, and they're a captive audience.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely give that a go.
Yeah, thank you.
that'll give you a good start to things.
Yeah, definitely.
But I suppose the point of that is then eventually you need to then get out of there. I'm assuming that you've done like your numbers on it and you know what your profit margins are. Do you know?
Kind of.
You've got to be on top of that.
Yeah, I know. That's like, I'm not very good at doing that side of things, but I know how much, like my batch of like 100 it costs to make, like what the ingredients were and all of the.
So 100. So 100. If you just take like one chemical, so you've got your rollerball thing, you've got your 3 different scents for it. So 100 of 1 cent, like a batch of 100. How much does that cost you to make? Like, what is the net price to you?
So I worked out that I can do 1, and if I sold it for 12, then that would give me sort of 40% profit. So we're talking a box of 100. How much does a box of 100 cost you? Oh God, you're gonna have to get me some maths now. No.
So what? Because you're not going to buy them on 1.
No.
You're going to buy them on 100, and don't forget there'll be breakages. Some people will lose them. Someone will stick one in their back pocket and walk off with it. So, especially if you're putting it on a shelf somewhere. So a box of 100 is how much?
I don't know.
How much is 1 then?
So 1 would be
the cost to you for one little bottle is.
It would be 12.
£12.
So that's for the candle, yeah.
Yeah, so it's 1,200 for 100, yeah. Yeah. And then you need to add and you're adding 40% to that as your profit margin. I think that is give or take about right, but what I would encourage you to, I don't know what the industry standard is, but I would say possibly it's a little on the low side, 40%. I know that sounds crazy, but you've got to take into account your time in kind of getting all of this up and running and the rest of it, but you've also got to take into account like the delivery time. Like you've got to take that box of 100 to your local, spa centre or whatever you might do, and then you're going to have to give away some fairly decent commission level on it. So if it retails at like £20 would be about a 40% profit margin. If you give them 10%, it's £2. It's not enough psychologically in people's heads to bother, pushing it too hard. So you probably need to make it 20%, which is £4. So they're like, oh, I get another £4 an hour, in my head. If I can sell one of these an hour, that's worth me bothering with. So therefore you've just given away 20% of your profit margin. Yeah. So you've got to factor in breakages, delivery costs, people pinching stuff. I don't know, does it have an expiry date on it? Presumably it's got some sort of expiry on it.
Yeah, because it's only new. I've only tested it for 6 months. So at the moment it's a 6-month window. So in another 5 months I can redo that for 12 months. But at the moment it's quite short.
So what you need to do is get really tight on all the numbers and go, right, actually out of a box of 100, probably 10% of them are going to be completely thrown away because they'll either get nicked, damaged, or they'll go out of date, and the other 90% is what I'm going to sell. And I'm also going to be giving away half of that. I'm going to give 20% away because half of it's going to go in, and the other half you'll probably sell in your own, Be Well with Shell. Yeah. And then you just need to then look at that and go, is 40% actually enough? Because what I'm clearing out of £1,200, like you might be selling it, you might be turning over £2,000, and then you've got £1,200 of costs, but then you've also got commission and losses eating into it by like £500, and you've made £200 out of your £2,000. So then it's only a 10% profit margin. Yeah. And also look at your competitors as well. You're selling like a premium product, and my experience of my wife going to the spa is that there's not a lot for sale in those little glass cabinets that's less than about £30-35, generally speaking. So you might find that actually at, say, if it's costing you £12, you're trying to sell it for 20 and do the 40% margin. That's quite a cheap product in those shelves. You'll be surprised. And they'll always pay a premium in a spa than they would do if you were buying it off the shelf in Tesco's, for instance, because they drive the prices right down. But they buy in like hundreds of thousands volumes, not a box of 100. Yeah. So, I think what I would encourage you to do is get like really down with the numbers. Go and see like a chartered accountant or a bookkeeper or somebody like that if you're struggling a bit with it, because they're worth their weight in gold. They love numbers. Like, it's not everybody's favourite cup of tea, to be honest, but you've got to be really on top of that, because otherwise you could find yourself actually going, right, well, I've done all of that, I've spent my £1,200 and I didn't even really make anything out of it. It was hardly worth it. And they won't be able to help you with the research. You'll need to do that yourself. But I would say that there's not a lot in those little glass cabinets that you see at the spas for less than like £35 every time you go in there. And there's tiny little bottles, aren't they? So that's your kind of benchmark for pricing, I would say. Yeah,
I think that's definitely something that I've always struggled with. Like even with my own treatments, it took me the whole of the 8 years to actually go, this is what other people are charging. I've got just as much experience and I'm just as good. I can actually charge like a full price for something. So,
but I think a little bit of that is you may have seen some of the previous podcasts, especially one with Julie Terry, where we talked about imposter syndrome and that. And like, sometimes people really struggle with putting up their prices, or I'm worth the market rate. That's a real kind of psychological block. Like if someone goes, like you're talking about a 40% profit margin, if you're going to sell it at 35, I don't know what that profit margin is, like 120% or something like that, and you think to yourself, well, that's really greedy. But actually, if you sat down and did all the numbers and did a kind of best, worst and middle case scenarios, you'll find 120% profit margin. It sounds like a lot, but it gets depleted really quickly, because it's a profit margin based on the physical product that you bought. It's not taking into account all of the other factors. Hospitality, restaurants get it wrong all the time. you see, you go into a restaurant and you see burger and chips in a pub and it's like knocking on 20 quid now because they realise there's so much wastage. They probably buy 50 burgers and they might throw 10 of them away. And then you've got the chef, and then you've got people that go, my one wasn't cooked properly, and then they knock it off the bill and stuff. So they have to factor all of that in when they're making their profit margins. And the general thing, I think's now knocking on about 80% profit margin on food, just because the cost of electricity and all that kind of stuff, to gas and everything to cook it. So,
it's one of those extra things that I need to think about.
Yeah, definitely, because that will make it profitable, and then that will allow you to reinvest back into the business. Because if you're running that and it's profitable, then what will happen is that you'll be able to then go, right, I can afford to give them more stocking fees, or I can go to different spas, or maybe this spa has a pre-arrangement already where they want 50% of whatever you're selling on the shelf. Like that might be there, like if you want in here, we're going to sell loads for you, but we want 50% of it. Then you need to be like, can I actually afford to do that or not? And then you need to almost be knowing that when you go into that meeting, rather than having to go away and work it out.
Yeah, definitely have that. Pre ammunition.
Definitely.
Go, this is it all work.
Do you use any software at all to track all your income, or do you just keep it on spreadsheets and things?
Just put it on a spreadsheet.
Well, that's software of some nature.
Yeah, so I've just started using QuickBooks for accounting. So for what I do day in, day out, and then I've just got a spreadsheet set up for the products side of things. But I don't really know, like I'm literally just entering the figures as I sort of work it out and seeing how much per item it is.
I don't know about QuickBooks, but I'd imagine it probably does the same thing. But Xero, which is something that I'm more familiar with, it actually does have a kind of product, like you can put in like the cost of the rest of it and it will work out that, but it won't take into effect, people sticking their back pocket or dropping one on the floor and breaking it and all that kind of stuff. You have to put that in manually, but it will help you with that. And if you can't work that out yourself, just because mathematics isn't everybody's first language, just get a bookkeeper or somebody in, even if it's just on an ad hoc basis, just to help you a bit with that, so that you've got those numbers to hand. I think that'll really help.
Yes, definitely.
Because that's the key thing, you need it to make money, don't you? So you could have the best product in the world, but if it doesn't make any money, then all you've done is create yourself another job.
Yeah, exactly. This is not what I'm going for.
No, exactly, because your longer term goal is really to get people to then sell it outside the spas. So almost you're kind of, I want to say like the Tupperware type thing, but like somebody to be your person to go around and do that, really, like a sales force, if you like, that are self-employed. And those models do work well. I know people knock them a lot, those kind of sort of, I don't know, they say like they're a pyramid structure or whatever or something, but I think most people quite like them because they're so flexible. You can go and sell the product and the rest of it, and have those little parties at people's houses, or go around and see them or something like that, or set up trade shows and fairs and things, and people can sell the product. So I think if you can master that spa thing, even just locally, that's going to get you some income, so that then maybe you can get like a little bit of a sales force going with people to do that, and that's really then your first run up that pyramid that I referred to earlier, where you're starting to be more of an operational person rather than necessarily having to go and deal with the selling of it, essentially. But the operational side of it will be very much with the spa, like the very start, because those people are going to sell it for you. So it's about you training them and making sure they understand what the product is and how it's different to other things. So you're passionate about it, and then they need to be then passionate about it as well, don't they?
Yes,
So I think that's hopefully some good advice for you there, and I would definitely look at getting on top of those numbers and stuff. But I mean, the other avenue you can look at that's quite kind of cheap and easy for you to do at this stage is to try and use social media a bit more. Obviously, I've had a look at your Facebook pages, and I see you post on like the local groups and the rest of it. But I think if you did some videos and stuff like that explaining what the products do and the rest of it, then they're much more visual than like kind of a list of stuff. In the break, we had a little chat and about the difference between like selling it through Amazon and selling it like on the spa shelf. And as I said, you know, Jeff Bezos is not going to sell your product with the same passion that you've got. And it's okay for the business to be about you from a you know, kind of business front, if you like. Like Charles Cox, another business that I run, is a lot about me when it comes to the social media, but obviously I don't get so involved in the day-to-day stuff anymore. So I think you're well placed to do that. So you could, I mean, I would definitely 100% be looking at doing little short videos, less than 60 seconds, even less than 30, just explaining how your product works and what you can do with it and the various smells, and then make sure that all your logos are in it and all that kind of stuff, and become your own sort of mini influencer, if you like, in that sense of like actually explaining what the product does and getting out there. I know people always get a little bit camera shy and the rest of it, but if you can master that, then I think that will be a really good way of getting your product out to a wider audience very quickly. Because people like all that kind of stuff. Like probably a year ago, we had a racing car driver guy on. He was a young lad, and he had to raise a load of money to sponsor his like, I don't know, the car that he was driving. It was a Porsche or something, and it was like really expensive. It was like 100 grand just to sponsor the spoiler or something like that. So he was like really struggling, and he was worried that if he didn't didn't get his sponsorship sorted, he would then lose his driving thing for Porsche or whatever. So one of the things that we talked about was actually creating his own social media presence, because I was like, look, if you lose that, at least you've got that, and you can take that to other sponsors as well. And like the kind of products that you are providing and what he was doing, being a race car, are really of real interest. You know, they're very short. They're kind of what I would describe as like sexy products. You know, they're things people are interested in. They're not like talking about financial services or whatever, which most people just carry on scrolling through their TikTok. You know, those are the sort of thing, your target market audience, they'll watch you do the thing on your hand and watch how it does, and then they go, oh, I didn't realise I could buy some candle you can melt down and do at home yourself. You know, oh, that's going to save me some costs because I do like going to the spa. So yeah, I'd definitely try and jump on that boat with it as well. But you've got to make sure it's all kind of branded and repetition, and really short as well. Don't go for like 6-minute videos, you know, explaining it all, and it's too long. People's attention span is so short on those sort of products. A bit like the racing car driver, you know, I'm like, just some you speeding along and skidding or something or other or whatever, and then, I don't know, people will probably just follow you on Instagram because they like it, because it's fun and exciting, you know. It's not a boring subject, is it? It's something of common interest, if you like, so... Yeah, because I see you're on Facebook quite a lot, but like outside of that, I don't see much, you know, else going on. And I know it's a bit like the bookkeeping stuff. If you're not familiar with the Instagram world and the TikTok, go and see somebody that does social media of some nature and get them to set you up all the accounts and everything, and then you should be in a better position where you're like, right, I understand it now or whatever. Don't necessarily have to get them to film it all. You can do all of that really cheap on an iPhone now and upload yourself or whatever, but maybe just understanding which platforms would work for you might be a sort of, someone could do a consultation for you or something like that.
Yeah, I think like the planning side of it, I like think about it, and then and I don't really know where to start, so then that actually stops me from doing it. So if I think, oh, you know, this is what I want it to look like, but I think I definitely overthink it and get bogged down in like the detail of it, and how am I, what exactly am I going to say? What's my script and how's it going to look? And sort of panic about it and then avoid it, revert back to text and just post that instead. So
I think that's a default thing, but I think if you can get into it, you know, what you want to do is just have a nice little environment set up. You can get yourself a tripod, or even just prop your iPhone on whatever, you know, your desk or something like that. Film it in landscape for some social media, and portrait in others, so you could do 2 takes if you like. And then just film it. It only has to be like 30 seconds, less than a minute is ideal, and it's just literally just going like, hi, we've got this product today and it's really great. You know, have you ever thought about doing, you know, waxing massage melt before, you know, after you've left the spa or whatever? Well, we've got this product here, go to our website, you know, go and order it from there, and then you'll pack up a few, you know, and then it will grow from there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like if you gotta be good at presenting. I mean, you know, you'll be fine with that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've seen some of your stuff. You just need to have the confidence to do it. That's all, and then,
Yeah.
and keep them short. I think that's a lot of people get them. They're too long, and then people get bored, you know, and then they just scroll off to the next one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite exciting to start thinking about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right,
Well, you've got space and studio and stuff like that, and I'm sure you've got access to various different environments and things like that. So,
Yeah.
I'd definitely do that. I think you're missing a big trick there, because it's building an audience, and even if they don't buy from you immediately, they know about your product and they might share it. And if you can capture their attention to watch the full video, the algorithm will then put it towards someone else that maybe watched a different video that's very similar. So you'll find that if you go through like Reels on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, the suggested videos are very similar to the ones that you've stopped on. So that's kind of how the algorithm works, really. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent.
So, 10-year goals then, really. You want to look at doing more treatments and the rest of it. Where's that kind of fit in? Because we've gone down this product route and the rest of it, and then we're now 10 years down the line. Are you looking to kind of expand the treatment business alongside this additional thing? Or
So again, trying to think of being involved in treatments but not giving the treatments, and so I was like looking at teaching, but more rather than teaching people to become qualified therapists, looking at teaching people to massage each other, like friends massage, or if you've got people in a care home, being able to teach them how to do it, and then to go out and be able to do that themselves.
I have a question. Where do people go to learn to massage then? Like, you know, like what? I wondered, like, because you have a hairdressing salon like academies or whatever, and often I see you can go and get your hair cut cheap if you go into one of those places, like if you wanted to, because they're the stylists and they're learning. Yeah. Is it not the equivalent of massaging?
Yeah, there is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like because I first
Students
trained at like
massage.
City College, and they did the hairdressing and they did the beauty, and you get members of the public come in for a lot cheaper prices.
Yeah.
So.
But they're like inside college buildings, aren't they? Generally, like not on the high street or in a place.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
maybe less accessible to your general member. Like you'd have to go and hunt that down, I think, wouldn't you? You'd have to look to see where there is. Whereas, like the office that we're in here, this used to be a hairdressing academy. That was a chain. It was a franchise, and it wasn't successful for them, so they went into administration. But it's probably more for maybe bad management of money or something. I don't know, but it strikes me like if you actually had like something that was a bit more readily available to people, because the college stuff is just strange, because it's like you have to kind of ring up the college, and it's not like a shop. You're like going in, and feels like you're being proper guinea pig, as opposed to if it's actual like shop frontage or in a spa or something, and then it might be where they go to train, but of course it feels much more familiar to you as to what you're used to. Yeah, there's nowhere like that, is there? Like
no, not that I know of. So there is one in Brighton, I think, in the Lanes, Gym Massage, a very amazing massage company, and they're kind of like in the shop front, in through the lanes, but they're very tucked away. If you wouldn't know that that's what they do, then
but are they like you go in there and the massage therapists are like trainees, or are they actually qualified?
No, that's
so
just
I'm thinking more like like it was here in this unit that we're in now. Where like you would perhaps go to, I don't know, a golf club or something like that, and there might be like a spa, but it's an academy rather than an actual spa, and the academy is like more public facing than say like a college would be.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, like that's
that,
because you see that I see that a fair amount with hairdressers, like the actual shops, and they train students up like apprentices and the rest of it, and then you can get a cheap haircut, and that's not inside a college. So I don't know if there's a gap in the market there. You need to do your research, but that definitely could be quite a good way of people getting into like holistic therapies or whatever of any nature. You know, as a franchise, if you like, because then you can model that out going forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of if you watch the video I did with Chateau Velo, because she wanted to franchise hers out. But obviously, some of the problem is it's reliant upon her as a person, and you can't be everywhere. So, like, how do you do that? But we talked a lot about that kind of model, if you like, so that might suit that as well. You know, if you can get like trainers to train the students, and then members of the public coming in and going, well, I can get a cheap massage or my nails done or whatever by a trainee, but you know, someone's got to start somewhere, haven't they? And people in this current economy like a good discount and the rest of it, because it's cost of living crisis and all that sort of stuff. So,
that's it. So it's just kind of thinking whether that would work, whether that's, you know, that sort of management side of things is what I'd wanted to do. Because I think the first time that I ever gave a massage, I was on a friend's massage course, and it wasn't to become qualified, it was just an interest of something nice to do for the day. So that's, and, you know, I noticed that those courses don't seem to be available anymore. So I don't know if there's like a gap for that, just for unqualified people to do a not unprofessional, but you know, just a relaxed, informal massage for a friend or.
Well, you could run like after the couples version maybe as well. You could consider that. Like, I'd be looking at all of those things. So like, you know, you can go and like learn how to make a cocktail or whatever, you know, like learn how to massage it, like something like that maybe might be a market that you could do. You need to like really do the research and the rest of it. I'm thinking like if you did something like different like that, then that might suit the model more than just trying to expand a kind of network of people doing therapies essentially. I think that market is probably fairly saturated. You know, everywhere you go there's like a massagey arrangement somewhere, so you're in a fairly saturated market. But if you could do something like learn how to massage your couples and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure people would like that. Or it's a training academy or something different. You have to try and think outside the box a little bit. But I'd love to see if there are any local things like that going on, and then see if that's a nice way into creating a system where it's not reliant upon you, which is the goal, really, isn't it?
It is, exactly.
So on your sheet, just quickly, so some of those things, challenges that you might have reaching those goals, that just make sure we've covered everything really. Finances, getting enough money to invest properly to get started without having to rein in normal spending. We talked about your costing sort of £1,200 to get a box done. Presumably that's kind of, is that in your remit, or is that the kind of level that you're struggling with at the moment, or commitment to that?
Just working out, you know, having that initial investment to make before you start getting a return on anything.
Is it a minimum of 100 to order, is it, or?
No, I mean, I've made up 6 initially. So that was like the vessels I used to make the candles in can come in. That's like looking to like scale up from that, and
Fine. Sorry. So with the stuff, you're kind of making it in-house at home at the moment, and then so you're in control of those costs very much. So I would try and make up a decent amount so that you could sell it at those spas really, and just try and make sure you're not over making stuff so you don't end up with an oversupply of it. Financing is quite low. I mean, you could get you could look at a bank loan or something like that if you wanted to upscale as you go along, but I think testing the waters is probably will give you the answers to how popular it's going to be and successful, without kind of financially crippling you. You don't want to be going, I'll take on loads of stock and I'll take the world on, and then suddenly it doesn't work out. And, but those numbers will help you figure out what you can kind of take on and go, right, that's a good level of risk. I'm not over exposing myself, but I'm also putting some skin in the game because I believe in myself. You have to believe in yourself. If you don't do that, then you shouldn't probably do it because you've got to have faith that it's going to work out. But yeah, just as you go along, big pitfalls that a lot of people start with these kind of things is that they get some SPA come to them and say, we want a minimum of 100 in stock at any one moment and stuff like that. And if you can't facilitate that, then that deal is not for you at that time. It's better to turn that down than it is to financially cripple yourself. Make sure that the contracts that you might sign with any of those bigger spas as you grow are like watertight. They can't have any funny clauses in, like they won't pay you and all that kind of stuff. I've had some friends buy big volumes of products on the base promises of orders, and then they've never materialised, and they've been stuck with the products, and they've tied up all their free cash into it and stuff like that. So just make sure you kind of read things, and it's very easy to get blindsided by the excitement of like they want to order 1,000, and you're like yay, and then all of a sudden 500 of them come back to you, and you go, where's that in the small print? And it's there because you didn't read it properly. So you can always get people to read it for you as well to make sure, give you some advice on it and stuff like that. I think that probably covers off the money side of things. Just be careful when you're expanding that you don't get shot in the foot somewhere along the line or screwed over by somebody, but make sure you're putting enough skin in the game that you believe in yourself, because I think that level of risk is good, because you're like, it has to work out because I've put my own money in it now, and then that passion will come across to people. So okay. And then focus, you've got I go off in all directions at once and then get overwhelmed and stopped. I think that slightly is a little bit true, because I think in year 1 and year 3 to 5 we're talking about doing the products, and then we're going back to doing like the academy hairdresser type scenario thing that I was on about before. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a short time and then underestimate what they can achieve in a longer period of time. I would personally be focusing on the kind of trying to get the product out there, because it's going to be the quickest route to you being kind of not stuck in the business, if you like. I think the other route is probably you do the research. I bet you there's somebody out there doing it that we just don't know about. And I think if you can capture that market on your kind of social medias as well, that would probably be where I would put the effort and try and stay focused. I know I'm a big hypocrite at that because I do so many things, but I try not to chew off more than I can handle, and I also try to chew it off if it's not going to pull on me too much for too long a period of time. So, if you chew something off and you go, right, I'm going to stop doing this thing that's making money to concentrate on this thing that might make money. If that doesn't start making money within a short period of time, then it was the wrong decision for you to make, because you need to be able to walk away from that and leave that ticking over on its own in a short period. Otherwise, the thing over here that you were doing falls apart.
I don't think as soon as I get to a challenge, I'm like, oh, maybe I should be doing something else, and then my brain starts to go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, no, that's a bit hard. Maybe I'll come back to this. Just trying to keep that focus so that...
We all suffer with that a little bit. Sometimes you get demoralised by like a hurdle. But the hurdles are there, and I always say, if it was easy, anybody would do it. It's supposed to be hard. These things are sent to test you. And then... what I actually want, I suppose, is another thing which is very similar. I find it difficult to see success in the areas that would look, so I don't know which path to follow right now. So they're quite similar sort of things, I think.
Like what does that, what does it look like to have a product line that's successful, and how does it all work? Moving into from doing it at home to doing it in a warehouse type facility. I don't physically what it looks like. It's just completely alien to me, so it's hard to know how that's going to look, and how success is.
I don't know the stats, but I would hazard a guess there are lots of people in the UK that do products at home, from bath bombs all the way through to massage stuff and all the rest of it, and some of them are probably a complete flop. Some of them probably a good lifestyle business. You're stuck in the business. the few that make it through are the ones where the people make that transition from perhaps being like a business, working in the business, to working on it and being a business owner. But by the time you get up to factory level, you'll be outsourcing that stuff to somebody, and you'll be going, that's my recipe or ingredient list, and this is how it's supposed to be mixed, and I want it made on mass volume because the likes of Tesco's want to buy it off of me now, and I don't know, Yankee Candle want to stock a small line in the corner of their shop or something like that or whatever, and they want to brand it up Yankee Candle, which I've given them a license to do. At that point, that's where you'll find factories for you to make it, and then you're in a much bigger scale because you might even have to do some of that abroad and import it, and they're very complicated structures. But there are loads of people out there, specialists, that will be able to help you with that, work that out, and go, look, if you're making it in mass bulk in Europe somewhere or something, and it comes into the UK, it's cost you less in tax than if you have it made in China, or maybe you can have it made in the UK, and that's a selling point for you, but you're going to then pay a premium for that. So you can then get someone to work all of that out for you. You don't have to be master of everything. Richard Branson doesn't know how, he owns a bank, but he never cashes up at the end of the day or does loans or anything like that, does he? He also owns an airline, but he can't fly a plane. So, you don't have to be knowing every single aspect, but what you do have to do is know where your weaknesses are and then get people in to help you with those bits. Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully that will help you focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, to go from where you are now to the factory could be a very short journey if it's very successful to you. If you suddenly strike it lucky on social media and everybody wants to order the stuff and it all goes a bit crazy, you have to be ready for that. And I would just get people in. I really would. It's not my specialist area or anybody's really. You need to have a good team around you at that point, and accountants are normally first on the list because they look after the numbers for you. You do your entrepreneurial thing and do what you'll do best, which is make all of the product line and put your passion into it. Don't get bogged down in the numbers, give that to somebody else, and then they give you a high level overview of it.
Okay.
Okay, so I hope that's been really helpful to you. I don't know if you had any other questions at all, anything you wanted to ask me specifically that we haven't already covered.
I think that's everything. That's a lot to be thinking about.
It probably is a bit, yeah. So just to kind of recap, I would definitely look at doing the products. I would try and put them into the spas and the various centres where you can test the waters a little bit and give them some decent commission. Definitely need to get on top of the numbers, get somebody in to help you if you don't know what you're doing with that, or have a look at is it QuickBooks or Sage you were looking at? QuickBooks, see what the packages are. There's loads and loads of online tutorials, just go on YouTube or somewhere like that, have a look at those, and then once you've kind of got that settled a little bit, then you could look at sort of franchising out. But don't underestimate the social media as well. I think that would be a good avenue for you for building a loyal fan base for that, and getting exposure as well. So,
Thank you.
Well, it'd be great to have you on in about a year's time and see where you got to, see if you got this off the line. But I don't, normally I give some contacts, but I don't actually have many contacts. I've got some up at East Sussex National, but I think you probably know some of those people already anyway. But those are the sort of places that I would be going to see if you could get your product on their shelves, just to start with, when you've made a small batch of it, and see if you can get some sales going, and then you get some feedback to it as well, wouldn't you? So.
Yeah, brilliant.
All right. Well, hopefully see you in a year's time.
Yeah, thanks.